So, if you're watching and you run a remote business, one of the quickest ways to systematically improve the quality of your team, it's a very practical thing, is to literally go to ultimately every high performing or high stakes person within your company and to do this thing and then teach them to do this thing with everyone else that they work with. And doing the thing in this context is asking them to share their screen because you can look and instantly discover things about the team that you work with. And there's insights that you can garner that you'll never otherwise garner. So, a quick way to understand people's constraints, because the fundamental reason why, for example, consulting exists is to reaffirm things that I already know and to tell me things which I don't. And inherently, we are all unable to see our blind spots. That's why we are blind to them. So we don't know what we don't know. Now, what I do know in this context, as a practical example of what Deepak, what is the value for me as a leader? And you're all leaders of your own life, but you're also, if you progress, you'll be leaders of teams. And your performance and your success will be reliant upon the ability of your team to perform. Mark my words, make no mistake that we rise and fall by the teams that we work with and the people around us. So consider it a fucking obligation to ensure through the quickest means possible to improve to do what's necessary to improve the people that are around you. And what again, this also relates to a previous video, if you've not watched it, about the issues with low level anxiety and inertia, where you sense there's problems within the team around you. Do not do them the injustice of not telling them about it, because otherwise they suffer from a perceived level of competence that they do not have. So you harm them and you harm yourself. Temi will know because this came up with Rabil when I said we need to give people and afford people the opportunity to be aggressive and direct with feedback, because then we allow them the opportunity to rise to the occasion. And that comes from us, again, with our colleagues, because it also relates to colleagues as well as clients, to immediately pounce upon the gut feeling that we have when something isn't right. Aggressively attack it, because then you give people the room to progress, because otherwise people walk blind through life. And that's why I'm a big fan of ultimately integrity is delivered through extreme honesty. So, what has happened in this context is Sebastian had a problem with his audio. That led me to want to share his screen. Then we discover, of course, many other things. Sebastian may be intellectually aware of these things, but clearly it's not hit here because he hasn't put in the work. And the work is always here, guys, because everyone knows that up here, because that information is available to you. The work here is clean your damn desktop up, man, because your inability to respond quickly to clients is also a function of your disorganized way that you manage stuff. You and that's part of your process. The shortcut of it is control all everything and then create a new folder and dump everything in there, because it will reduce your immediate anxiety that you feel. There isn't anyone that walks into chaos and senses peace. You look at this every day, right?
Yeah, kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, you do, because it's your desktop. You will immediately feel better if you it's the digital equivalent of having a messy room and for the moment saying, you know what, I take all of my clothes and I'm going to ram them into a cupboard. Ah, I feel better. I just throw them in there. We've all done it at one point. I just chuck it all in. You see it in the movies when the girl or the guy is coming to the other person's house and they quickly shovel everything into a cupboard. Begin by doing the same thing on your desktop. It's gonna help you feel better, which will help you perform better, and that will lead to better results for everybody. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Yeah,
Amazing. The
pretty
next
cool. Finding
thing
that out.
that we need to do is I also see that you use multiple different screens when you work, right? So you flip, and that's why, is that correct? Yep. That's why you can't find Zoom, because you don't know where it's gone. Don't do that, because find it, because you can't. I know that you can't find it, and don't worry. This is not a problem, or the problem is mine, because now I'm trying to improve my level of training that I give you because it's my fault for not having done this with you. Because now we can't find Zoom together, but actually, practically, what sits underneath that is that you flipping between screens is what you do for what I call pseudo productivity. Because people flip between screens, and then 25% of the time you get lost. But no one sees that. So you either have two screens or you learn to use screen minification where you split things up into small screens. Don't switch. The reason that that's actually limiting to your ability to cognitively understand what's in front of you because it's the equivalent of doing this every time. Does that make sense? It's like having a book and literally going page 1, page 3, page 5 and flipping backwards and forwards to get the information. Where practically at some points it's better to go from font 14 to font 12 and fit all of the information into one screen. Does that make sense? Okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Let's pull the thread now and we'll go through the process of you finding the Zoom actual chat. So
Yeah, sounds
amazing.
good.
So we were able to figure out that there were two levels of noise compression that were in place on Sebastian's laptop or desktop. And that was causing the issues with his audio. We also discovered that Sebastian sometimes will work without having his MacBook plugged in because I saw the 50% battery. What Sebastian doesn't know is that causes additional load upon his RAM, which actually slows down his processing power, which will translate into lag on his computer. So, guys, if you're watching, it's not about Sebastian because everyone's got a different version of this. You don't know what you don't know. And you will develop your team if, number one, you as a business owner take the time to learn how to use your computer. 95% of people, it sounds silly, do not know how to use their computer because they don't figure out all of these little nuances that do make a differential difference. So first of all, be fucking better because again, we speak about this. Your laptop is the way that you get to work and you don't know what you don't know. So go and find the highest source of information, which of course you can self-learn, but also look at the most productive people in the team that you have and say, show me how you work. Show me, like, let me see your screen, show me everything, and you will be blown away by the level that you get to. And then you need to go and replicate that or put a system in to replicate that across the team. Because again, success is often in the margins. And this is yet another example of another marginal increase that can lead to a maximal return.